Hi, welcome to Catholic Nest. So today I'm going to share with you my daughter who's in year 1, which is the American kindergarten, her curriculum picks for this year. So I'll preface this with saying that I don't think you need curriculum for this age at all, but with having 5 children, sometimes I found over the last year if she doesn't have something kind of solid that we're doing and progressing through, she can sometimes fly under the radar a little bit. So I think it'll be useful to us this year to have her doing something with a bit of scope and sequence so that we can just chug along with working on her reading skills. So I'm trying to use as much of what we already owned this year. So I've literally only brought, I think, 2 things for her and then just pulled stuff out that we've already had from previous years. So for maths, we're carrying on with Matthew C. So she's currently about 2/3 of the way through the primer. She's really enjoying that. We've just got to a point where it's just leapt up a little bit, and we're just going to put a pin in it for a couple of months and just work on her number recognition and her skip counting. So what we're also going to use for that, but it hasn't arrived yet, is the Matthew C skip counting set with a CD with songs and a book that goes with it. So we're going to be using that and a mixture of worksheets from Twinkle and lots of maths games. She'll move into Alpha at some point during this year. So for maths as well, just to help with her number recognition to 100, also got this 100 mat, which is in a very battered old box. So it's a big floor mat of 1 to 100, and there's 2 inflatable dice, and there's lots of these little squares so you can play different games, getting them to outline different numbers, and it's something nice and active. I used to do like obstacle courses with my boys when they were little with it. I used to add in lots of other elements with like an educational purpose, so that's quite fun. Also got 1 to 100 flashcards we can play some games with, and we've got lots of little maths games for her age in our supplies that we can pull out as well. So that's what she's doing for maths. And we also printed off these little teapots from Twinkle and laminated them, and she can practice skip counting and laying them out in order. So it's 0 to 100. She likes anything like that. So for English, learning to read, we're going to be using Reading and Spelling Through Literature, the primer by Cathy Jo DeVore. I looked at loads of good phonic programmes. It came down to 3. There was this one, Treasure Hunt Reading, which is completely free online. It includes videos and everything. Really good programme. And then Read Write Inc. Now I looked at them all, and as I bought this one last year for her, and she didn't make it into it this year, so I had it anyway, so I thought I'll just use what I have, and we'll give this a fair go this year. So it comes with workbook. She used some of the workbook A last year, and once they get into workbook B, they can then use the spelling lists and text that go with it. So this is a program you can use to learn to read, to learn to spell, or to learn to read and spell. So you could use it with an older child for spelling, or for a child to learn to read. So this is the newer version of the program. It has 4 levels. They are used with the Elson readers. The newer levels include the Elson reader in the back, and include spelling as well as the reading. So the old ones are still kicking about. She's just brought out level 1, which is the old level 2. This is the old level 1, which is now the primer, so that they coincide with the Elson primer. So if anyone's interested in this, I can do a more detailed one, but I'll just kind of skim. So it's an Orton Gillingham method. Lots of information to read in the beginning. Includes the 30 spelling rules, 75 phonograms, and you do need to read all the blurb in the beginning to really understand the programme. There is a little section, however, somewhere where it says that if your child is not ready to write or be put off by the writing segment because they've not mastered it very well, there are ways to do it for non-writers. So it's quite flexible in that sense. So it includes spelling lists which are scripted, and they group the words together by sound, and it teaches something different each time. So there are several 1A to 1H are the first spelling lists. And when they finish all the spelling lists for 1, they read the first Elson story, which is at the back, which means they've learnt all the words in that story and can then go on to read the story. Then when they've done all the 2 lists, they can read story number 2. So it comes with optional workbook. I'll definitely say they look worth it. So they coincide with the spelling lists, and they give about 8 pages of practice to go with each spelling list. So by the time they get to actually read a story, they've covered a large chunk of the workbook already. So it reminds me a little bit, from what I've seen in various look insides, of the similar kind of thing to Explode the Code, where they're circling the right ones, and it's kind of similar things all the way through. It's a big thick book, and the textbook a bit smaller. So we're going to give that a try. Now she also does a series called Handwriting Lessons Through Literature, and this is all the phonograms, so it's lots of letter formation practice, and it has the different sounds, so we could pair them up with the sound that she's learning to do for handwriting. So that's quite nice. So that's what we're going to use for learning to read. I have lots of different things that we can use to support each level that she's at, each list. If she's struggling and needs more practice with any of the sounds or the different types of words, we're going to use various things to practice. So we're going to carry on with the Read and See Jolly Phonics. We've got pack 2, had from teaching the others to read, so these are quite nice. So she's learning lots of words, they read and then look. So they've got lots of different phonogram books to go with those, so they're really useful. Also, mentioned many times, still one of my favourite resources is the Montessori Pink, Blue and Green series, which I got the PDFs from Absorbent Minds Montessori, and I just made them into games. So, and I made them into games with particular phonograms to practice, particularly with the green. So I put all the ooh words on one sheet, the silent e's, the aw's, so that I can match whichever phonogram they're learning with the Read and See books. And they also have word lists, which we have as well, which are all by sound. So there's lots of different things there you can use to practice the phonograms. Also like to make my own games specific to what the child's struggling with. So we have different, some printed offline, some just made. We can find any as an example. So there's one I made here with paper plates as stepping stones, and they have to jump onto the word when they get it right. There's just loads of these kind of things. Fishing. Hunt the Dinosaurs. There's just lots and lots of different ones for that. Also, it's something that worked really well with her last year. I was using this Montessori green board. You could just use a white board. And these chalk brights. She really enjoys any kind of novelty and sensory aspects. So this really helped her to do more writing than she would have managed on just pen and paper. So for the reading and spelling through literature, when we practice her words, and her reading we'll do it on this board, and she can practice using these chalk brights. We also have a little lined whiteboard I can use to change it up a little bit. So they're all things we already had. Second thing I purchased for her was this. It's just £3 on eBay. Really wish I'd come across these before. I got the phonics pathways and the reading pathways, and they're really good for just kind of reading fluency and practice. And between the phonics pathways and the reading pathways, you could totally have a reading program just from those. So it kind of works by having these pyramids. Okay, so lots of specific practice of different phonograms. Then it moves to the pyramids and the reading pathways, where they would work on one pyramid at a time, and it kind of builds up. But when it's just struggling with a particular one, and we can sort of stop her lists and just practice those before we move on. So I thought it was just a nice kind of supportive material, and definitely one that I can use with multiple children, the younger ones coming up behind her. So my daughter's going to be joining in with our science, but kind of simplified version. And I wanted to do some specific bits with her. We do like family catechism and Bible stuff, but sometimes it goes a bit over her head as you kind of naturally gear it to the older ones. So I wanted just to go through this nice pictorial catechism with her. I've got some other bits to move up onto and start reading her Bible stories at her level as part of her learning time, just to kind of give her a deeper understanding of our faith. So that's my picks for my 5-year-old. And as I say, when my boys were little, we didn't do curriculum. We've only done curriculum for the last couple of years. I just find it, when you have a big family, I think you fall into one of two groups. You either become more structured and need more routine, or you go completely the other way. We definitely need the structure, and I just don't want my little one to miss out on learning to read because I'm preoccupied with the older one. So if I have something to do specifically with her, it's going to happen. So if anyone does want to know more about this programme, I'm happy to do a separate video on it. It'd just be a bit lengthy to cover that in this one. As I said, it's around the Elson readers, and I happen to have the primer here as well. So this is a whole nice reading series if you wanted some nice reading books for early learning to read. There's a whole series of them. As I say, it is included in the text. So there we go, that's my Year 1 curriculum picks. Please do hit like and subscribe to support my channel. There will be 2 more videos coming out of curriculum picks for my 10-year-old. He'll be in Year 6, and my eldest, he'll be 12 very soon. He'll be in Year 7. I'm still trying to sort his out. But yeah, do hit notifications if you want to be notified of those. So thank you very much for watching.